Donald Trump just had what can only be called a full-blown mental breakdown on Air Force One. Not a stumble, not a misstatement, a sustained unraveling that left veteran reporters stunned into silence as they tried, repeatedly, to interrupt him while he fixated on his ballroom like nothing else in the world mattered. And coming from Donald Trump, a man known for chaos, that is saying quite a lot. On the world stage, at a moment that demands strength and clarity, Donald Trump looked weaker, frailer, and more desperate than ever. This is a president asking allies to back a war he cannot even explain. A man who set out to project toughness and instead revealed confusion, fear, and a visible loss of control. Call it what it is. This is not strength. This is decline. And Donald Trump looks like a man who knows it and is scared. Surrendering to Russia. Surrendering to Iran. It is not strategy, it is humiliation, plain and simple. And it began the moment Donald Trump was pressed on that reality, forced to confront it directly, and had nothing, no answer, no clarity, no leadership, just silence, where command should be.
We have a lot of great candidates for this.
Do you still have confidence in Tulsi Gabbard, sir?
Yeah, sure I do. Sure. I mean, she's a little bit different in her thought process than me, but that doesn't make somebody not available to serve.
Is she on the same page as you?
I would say that I'm very strong in the fact that I don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Because if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it immediately. I think she's probably a little bit softer on that issue, but that's okay. Some people are. Most people aren't. Most people are saying thank you very much for doing what you did. They are decimated right now. They're going to give up nuclear weapons. They're going to give us the nuclear dust. They're going to do everything that we want to do. And you know what? They're going to go on and maybe have a great country again. But if they don't do that, they're not going to have a country. They're not even going to have a country. So she's softer on that issue, but I have other people, not too many. That's an issue that we've had great support. You saw the CNN poll where Trump with MAGA, and I think MAGA is most of the Republican Party, is 100% approval. In fact, the young gentleman that does the poll, who's very good, actually, because he's honest, he said, I've never seen 100% before. I'm 100% in the CNN poll, which just came out.
So now Donald Trump is suddenly lifting a blockade around Cuba after helping engineer the very humanitarian crisis he now pretends to relieve. No coherent strategy, no accountability, just a policy that cuts off energy, destabilizes lives, and then quietly reverses when the damage becomes impossible to ignore. Yes, oil will flow again, and people may survive because of it. But let's be very clear about who created the conditions in the first place. Because this isn't compassion. It isn't leadership. Donald Trump didn't change course out of principle. He did it while continuing to yield step by step to Vladimir Putin, loosening pressure on Russian oil and signaling the same pattern with Iran. That doesn't read as strength. It reads as a president adjusting to pressure he cannot control. And let's not pretend this is accidental. These outcomes trace directly back to decisions Donald Trump put in motion. And when pressed on negotiations, there's no command, no leverage, just a quiet admission that the terms are being shaped elsewhere. That isn't negotiation. That's capitulation dressed up as progress. And it leaves a very simple question. Who is actually in charge here?
He's seriously wounded.
You had offered a 15-point plan to Iran. Did they ever come back?
Yeah, they came back on the 15-point plan. They gave us most of the points. Why wouldn't they?
You make it sound like they've made some concessions. Can you identify those?
Well, they're agreeing with us on the plan. I mean, we asked for 15 things, and for the most part, we're going to be asking for a couple of other things. And just to prove that they're serious, they gave us all these votes. When I talked about 4 days ago, a present, I said they gave me a present. But I didn't think I was at liberty to say what it was. What it was 8 plus 2. It's 10 massive boatloads of oil. And today they gave us another present. They gave us 20 boatloads of oil. That starts being shipped tomorrow. We're having very good meetings, both directly and indirectly, and I think we're getting a lot of very important points.
Sir, will you...
All right. So what we're looking at is an agreement where Iran is setting the terms and Donald Trump is the one trying to keep up. And that helps explain why this situation now looks like it's drifting toward escalation, because when there's no clear strategy, pressure fills the vacuum. There are now reports that Donald Trump isn't just considering limited involvement, but expanding it, boots on the ground, even talk of seizing key oil assets outright. That is not what strength looks like. That is what it looks like when a leader has no defined endgame and defaults to escalation because there's nothing else left. And underneath it all is the same pattern. A president who appears increasingly off balance, reacting instead of leading, trying to force an image of control while losing grip on the reality in front of him. And that is exactly why the focus shifts away from the war, away from the stakes, and onto something else entirely. Optics, legacy, a ballroom. Because when the substance isn't there, the performance takes over. And what follows is the moment where that disconnect becomes impossible to ignore. Watch what happens when he's pressed, and where his attention actually goes.
But I think we have it automatically. I did something today. We just got these in from the architects. A lot of people are talking about how beautiful the ballroom. For 150 years, they've wanted to build a ballroom at the White House. And other presidents have wanted it. When we have dignitaries coming like President Xi of China or anybody else, we have very small rooms. They're not big enough to handle the kind of capacity that you need. And this is the same height as the White House. It's an incredible fitting. You see what that is, right? Nice. I'll show you. Here's another view. This is coming from right opposite the Treasury building. Beautiful Capitol. Beautiful building. And I think it'll be the finest ballroom of its kind anywhere in the world. A lot of people are giving it really good reviews. Some are giving it reviews without even seeing the building, because this just came out today. These pictures we just made today. We got rid of. Here's another one. Wait, excuse me, wait. I thought I'd do this now because it's easier. I'm so busy that I don't have time to do this.
You could hear them try to ask other questions, and it was just ballroom. Look at my ballroom. And they won't let me talk about the ballroom at any other time. So now, here it is, the ballroom. It looks so pretty. What a pretty ballroom. Americans are dying, and it's the ballroom. We're spending billions, soon to be $1 trillion on this ballroom. $1 trillion, while everything else slips. Ballroom. We love the ballroom because there is no focus left. None. No control. No ability to stay on anything that actually matters. This is what it looks like when the mind is not where it needs to be. And if this country had a real media, not one softened, not one captured, someone would ask the question directly, is he fit? Is he capable? Is this what the 25th Amendment is for? Or do we just ignore what's right in front of us? Because what you just saw wasn't leadership. It wasn't strength. It was something else entirely. They tried to interrupt him. They tried to ask a different question about a war that we started with no purpose for Israel. Because of course, Donald Trump got $250 million from Miriam Adelson. Larry Ellison is right there too, one of the biggest donors aligned with those same interests. And what do you get in response? Nothing. No answer, no explanation, just more ballroom. Because when the numbers get that big and the connections get that clear, silence is not confusion. It's avoidance. These are the reasons we are at war. A war nobody asked for. A war nobody can explain. A war he cannot even stay focused on. He started it. And when he's asked about it, he goes right back. Ballroom. We love the ballroom. Ballroom. How do you watch this and not see it? How do you hear this and still call it leadership? This is not focus. This is not strength. This is a man completely unmoored. And that is why, right now, he turns on Republicans in the House and the Senate, pushing the SAVE Act, pushing voter restrictions, trying to hold on to what little political ground he has left. Because there isn't much left. And when people go to the polls in November, they're not voting on a ballroom. Maybe one person is, but not the country. And that's why he sounds like this now.
And you'll get everything you want. You get all 5 things. We have voter ID. We have proof of citizenship. It's so important. Mail-in ballots have to be stopped, with exceptions for the military, for sick people, people that are sick, people disabled. For people that are traveling, if you're traveling, you can vote. But other than that, mail-in ballots are inherently dishonest.
First of all, let's deal with the claim, this idea that no other country allows mail-in voting. That's simply not true. It's not even close to true. And at this point, Donald Trump knows it. He knows the SAVE Act is not going to pass. The real question is whether he ever needed it to. Because look at the structure of it. Passports to vote, multiple layers, not just ID, but proof of citizenship. That's not election security. That starts to look a lot like a modern poll tax. And the reality is, measures like that don't just hit one side, they cut across the board, including his own base. Which raises the obvious question, what is this really about? At a certain point, it stops being about winning. It starts being about explaining a loss before it happens. Setting the narrative, building the excuse. The SAVE Act didn't pass. Mail-in ballots were fake. The system was rigged. You can already hear it taking shape. Because underneath all of this, there's a pattern. Weakness. Not just politically, but physically, cognitively, on the world stage. A presidency defined less by control and more by reaction. And even inside his own White House, the message isn't holding. The lines aren't clean. The alignment isn't there. So when he talks about loyalty, when he talks about who's with him and who isn't, listen closely, because even there, the cracks are showing. Just listen to how he talks about Tulsi Gabbard.
We have a lot of great candidates for this.
Do you still have confidence in Tulsi Gabbard, sir?
Yeah, sure I do. Sure.
Father, we'll
I mean, she's a little bit different in her thought process than me, but that doesn't make somebody not available to serve.
Is she on the same page as you?
I would say that I'm very strong in the fact that I don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Because if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it immediately. I think she's probably a little bit softer on that issue.
I don't know if that was an admission or just another moment where he can't keep things contained anymore. Because the reality is, the leaks are coming out, and they're not subtle. You're hearing it from inside his own circle. Figures like Tulsi Gabbard, J.D. Vance signaling they're not fully on board with what's happening. And if he can't even hold alignment inside his own White House on something this big, that tells you everything. Because this isn't a fringe issue. This is war. And even there, he can't keep people together. Not on policy, not on message, not even on basic coherence. The cracks are visible, and they're getting wider. And those leaks, they're not random. They're exposing something deeper, how little support there actually is, even among the people who are supposed to be backing him. And through all of it, the same pattern keeps showing up. Weakness, not strength. No matter what he says, no matter how he tries to frame it, it keeps slipping through. Because what you're seeing isn't confidence, it's insecurity. And that insecurity is driving decisions at the highest level. Decisions that have consequences, real consequences. That's part of how you end up in a war that doesn't have a clear purpose, doesn't have broad support, and doesn't have a defined end. Because the people making those decisions are trying to look strong instead of actually being strong. And when Donald Trump is asked about negotiations, the one thing he claims to do better than anyone, you get the truth, whether he means to say it or not. They're going well, but maybe they're not because nobody likes me. That's not strategy, that's not leverage, that's not leadership. That's something else entirely. And hearing that in this moment should concern anyone paying attention. At a certain point, it stops being surprising. It becomes a pattern. And that's where we are now. We're going to keep calling it out plainly and directly because it matters. And if you're following this, if you're watching this unfold, stay engaged, stay informed. Don't tune it out because this isn't noise. This is the direction things are going. And we'll keep tracking it every step of the way.
More straight. And that's taking place starting tomorrow morning. Over the next couple of days, a lot of boats. And I would only say that we're doing extremely well in that negotiation, but you never know with Iran.
The negotiations, according to him, are going well, except they're not, because nobody likes him. That's the explanation, that's the strategy. And somehow that's supposed to reassure anyone. It doesn't. It's predictable. It's disturbing. And at this point, it's exactly what this presidency has become. And that is what will continue to be covered and called out here plainly, directly, without pretending otherwise. Because this matters. And if that kind of clarity is worth supporting, then yes, subscribe, follow, stay with it. If you made it this far, leave a comment saying I'm here. It matters more than people realize. There's more analysis, more breakdowns, more reporting coming daily, consistent, focused. However you choose to stay engaged, stay engaged. Because this isn't background noise. And the more attention it gets, the harder it is to ignore. Until next time.